Namaste. I am so delighted to be with you today. I am Gloria Grace Rand, just in case you missed the intro. Um, and welcome to those of you who are watching this on YouTube, as well as those of you who are listening on your favorite podcast platform. And I am delighted to welcome a friend of mine who we've known each other, kind of been in each other's circles for quite a long time. And in fact, I even interviewed her on the previous incarnation of this podcast quite a while ago. But first off, I'll tell you more about who she is and all the wonderful things she gives to the world first. But first off, I just want to welcome Shannon Procise to Live, Love, Engage.
Thank you so much for having me back. I love where you're going and how you're transforming.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and so let me set the stage for those of you who may not be familiar with this one, what she has done in her career as a woman entrepreneur. And she has successfully attained over $3.2 million in free publicity and is notorious for being the owner of the $1 Million Rolodex. And for those of you who don't know what a Rolodex is, maybe we'll explain that later, but essentially it's, having a lot of contacts. And she teaches others how to do the same. She's trained and coached thousands of individuals in marketing, event production, business development, and personal growth. And she's also the creator of her own magnetic community called the Business Acceleration Network, where she also guides businesses to build a successful enterprise while having fun and making lots of money. And isn't that what we all want to do in life? I think there's not enough fun in this world, and we need to have more fun. And if you can do it and making money, that's the best thing. So she's done a lot of other stuff, and I'll have her full bio probably in the show notes. But let's just suffice it to say she's been on television, radio. She knows her way around publicity, and she even co-authored the book called The Law of Business Attraction: The Secret of Cooperative Success, which is an Amazon #1 bestseller with T. Harv Eker, who is famous for the book The Millionaire Mind. So you've done a lot in your life and in your career, and I'm just wondering I thought maybe a good way to start is what actually got you here? What I like to find out, how people's journeys began. So what got you even interested in being able to help people do publicity and things like that?
Yeah, that's a really great story. And so I was rear-ended at the age of 19. I ended up having shoulder surgery that made me paralyzed with only one arm that worked. Tried numerous things. I had no more insurance. I ended up signing up for a Qigong class and was able to get full range in my arm in 2 months. Wow. And I realized that there's a whole ocean of possibilities within our mind that can heal our body, and that there's so many solutions that are not mainstream that can truly heal. And so I became obsessed with getting the message out to the masses to truly make an impact.
Wow. Now, see, I wasn't even aware of that. And here and we had an interview, years ago. And I guess then we were more focused on publicity. So that is intriguing to me. So I want to explore that a little bit more. So you said you got involved in Qigong. What was it about that you think that really appealed to you? I'm curious.
Well, I don't know that it appealed to me, but at that point I was really hopeless. Like I had tried everything else, and I had no more insurance. They were telling me I needed another insurance. So I was a little nervous about that, but I feel like an earth angel showed up and said, my husband, he didn't get in a car wreck, but he had a left shoulder injury, and he healed his arm with Qigong, and just come check it out. And so I went to a couple classes, and I thought, this is strange because I can't move my arm, right? And they kept saying, imagine your arm is in these positions. So it was my imagining. And after 2 classes, I started moving my arm, which I was, that gave me the hope and the inspiration. And then after 2 months, I was like, okay, there's something really powerful with our mind and our, and to me, also that hope and that willingness and that, I was committed to not giving up.
Yeah. And that's an important point. I think especially, in whatever you're doing, and certainly when you have a health challenge, to be able to have hope is you're going to have a lot better outcome, or at least a better transition sometimes. Because sometimes we don't know what's in store for us. And but if you can have that better mind frame about it, you're going to at least get through each day a little bit better. So that's amazing. So you started actually, I guess, then promoting this this healing modality. So how did that then wind up going from that to actually helping other people in their business?
Yeah, well, I grew up with having over 10 surgeries. And so I started looking at my past. I got into Louise Hay, the emotion relationship. And at the time I had, as I got on my journey, my kids, we had generational hearing things. My mom was deaf in her right ear. My sister was deaf in her right ear.
Right.
And I had multiple surgeries in my right ear, and I was really committed to not having that same thing happen. So in my research, what I found is that there were all of these people that had successes, but it wasn't mainstream. And then there were all of these practitioners and healers that were really good at what they were doing, but they weren't good at marketing. And so I started an organization at the time called Conscious Living Partnership. And the idea was to have collaboration help get the message out. And during that time, I have to add another piece in here. There was a lot of pieces coming together. Sometimes we get messages from different things, and it's enough to give us the courage. And at the time, I remember a dear friend who was an ND, which stands for naturopathic doctor. The state of Florida made her a felony overnight, and she'd been practicing for 30 years. And they came up with some law, and many people, like even today, I can go to an audience and how many people know that this law was passed. They didn't know it was passed. And I watched her frantically, Gloria, trying to get people to call their congressman, do all of this stuff. And we didn't have a body of people that came together. And so I just kept we need to come together and share these messages. We need to come together so that we can have that impact, so things like this don't happen again. And so when I started Conscious Living Partnership, we got into events. And then I ran into another little challenges that I realized that our world has grown up taught to compete. And so then I started really stepping into, okay, this is my work. This is my work of building community and showing people how to navigate those differences, and how we're more powerful when we come together, even if we're doing the same thing. And so, yeah, a little bit about the journey. There's a few things that was like, okay, you're here to really, provide that hope and inspiration, those resources, but it was more about how do we build community to help spread those messages.
Yeah. And that is important. And I know it gets challenging, I think, for entrepreneurs, especially like when they're first getting started and they're not quite sure how to be able to navigate that. And there's so many different organizations out there, and some of them believe that they can only have one of each type of business owner, and so that they're, very lead oriented. And then there's others that are, more accepting, because ultimately, and you tell me if you agree with this, is that I feel that whoever you're meant to work with, those people are going to find you, as long as you are showing up. But not everybody is going to want to work with. You can have two people who are both do chiropractic, but they're going to appeal to some people, and the other doctor is going to appeal to other people. And it's okay. They can still find enough business. There's enough people to go around. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I think we attract our tribe. And we want to attract our tribe. We really don't want everybody. You know what I mean? I used to think, I want everybody, but then I just realized that we're, we attract who it is that we ideally are here to serve and here to work with. And the piece of collaboration is that when we can actually align with those people, if you can align with that chiropractor, you can actually learn from each other. You can share gifts. There may be things that they like to do that they don't. I mean, when I first started, we had 6 hypnotists show up to our networking meeting. So imagine that, Gloria,
Wow.
6 hypnotists. And I was watching them go around the circle, and it was a little bit of that one-up energy of like, well, I do this, and you could just feel it. And my heart was like, oh no, this is not what I want to build. Like this is, and that was really the eye opener for me. And I ended up pulling them together on the side and sharing and exploring. Okay, oh, so you like to help people quit smoking. Oh, you like weight loss. Oh, you're really skilled at past life regression. And what happened is they ended up starting their own hypnosis association, and they started cross referring, and all of them that came together flourished once they learned that, okay, when we come together, we can find our differences, we can honor them, right? Because we all have different beliefs, we all have different understanding, and then we can start resource sharing. And it was really a powerful thing to help attract more of your tribe and who you want to serve.
Yeah, I like that. And that is important, having that dialogue with people and being able to learn and see, what are you good at? And sometimes it might be, maybe they don't like to work with a certain type of client. And so then if you can have that, because I've had that happen too, where it's like, oh, you know what? We are not a good fit. Let me refer you to somebody else who I think will be able to manage. So what would you say to someone who is in this sort of dilemma, maybe a little bit of like, they want to be able to promote themselves, but they're not quite sure how to go about it? What is sort of the first thing that you recommend to someone?
Yeah, so I like to work with people. First, it's very budget. I work with people that are getting started and they don't have a budget, right? They have a limited budget. And then there's also people that have a budget, and that. So I tend to share some of the free marketing opportunities. So I'll start there. But I think that getting our press kit together, working on your power bio, to me is like the very first basic. I know that's different than marketing, but if you're going to market, they need to know who you are, and you will get more yeses if they clearly know who you are. And so I was struggling getting clients to say yes. I was, not really happy with my income. And once I kind of cracked the code on what we call our expert power bio, I was able to almost triple my wage. And I've seen so many people, just double and triple their income by doing that. So I always feel like that's a foundational thing. And it's a time to brag. It's not a time to be humble, right? It's a time to really, I've worked with this person, you can name drop, or I've studied from this person, or whatever those successes are, is important. And I love the publicity aspect. Now, I know we're on social media. I think that is a tool, but that you got to really, like right now, and I know, Gloria, you're with what you do, how you help people with both personal and business. You're an incredible coach. Anybody that can work with you, they're so blessed. Sorry, I'm doing a little side rail here, because you get business, right? And you get the connecting the dots. So I can share about social media, but my biggest advice is, yes, there's free stuff there, but it's controlled by algorithms. And so really, building community. If there's a community that you can step into, where they foster, like I'm a part of a community where they have a person on staff that does strategic introductions. Like that to me is so powerful, because I'm constantly getting leads. The press release is another thing where we had when I first cracked that code of writing a press release and submitting it, our event was stuck at 500 attendees. One press release, which got picked up by multiple places, took our event from 500 to 2,000 in 1 year. So that's another, there's so many ways I could talk for days about, but there's a few that I feel are kind of foundational to get started.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, it is interesting that people don't always think about that, crafting that bio, but it really is important to be able to get clear, especially if you are going to, let's say you're going to a networking meeting. People always talk about, the first time I had to do this, what they call your 30-second elevator pitch. It's something that, and for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, it's basically if you were stuck in an elevator with somebody and you wanted to be able to, talk about what you do, you had to be able to go from if it's only from one floor to the next, you've got to be able to talk and get that point across quickly. So being able to nail that is really important, because frankly, if you're not clear on what you do, then how can anybody else know? And how are they going to want to even do business with you then, if you're not clear on that? So it's so important. What has been your one of your biggest challenges that you've had to overcome in growing your own business?
For me, I would say, staying true to what I'm here to do. So we get bombarded with a lot of information, a lot of great coaches and mentors and things like that. And so, really learning to discern and honor the people that share, right? It's like, thank you so much. I'm going to consider that. But really understanding that that what works for everybody, it may not, I tell people, it's like, if you don't want to be on TV, I don't want you to be, I'm not going to say you got to go get on TV, or if you don't want to be on the radio, if you enjoy, right, like really finding what makes my heart sing. And even if there's people that are more successful than me, we do at the Business Acceleration Network, we bring in really successful people, just honoring them, but knowing, okay, it's okay if I don't follow that. Like, I've got to follow my heart and my guidance, and trust that, and have a, a tool that we actually teach people. Because right now we're in a place of overwhelm, as you can imagine. Now everything's even more moved online, and it's like, I would say the biggest challenge is really learning how to decipher, and then trusting that that when I get a no, it means no, and I have an example of one time I was doing I just completed it was a $23,000 agreement. She was just signing it. We spent a couple months getting it together for a really big event in New York. And I went, oh shoot, I forgot to check if this is for my highest good. And so I checked and I got a no. And I'm just like, well, wait a minute, I could use the cash. I like the late, like all of the things lined up, Gloria, but I kept getting a no. And so I ended up, doing a double check with the person who shared the strategy, and it was definitely no. I got pregnant 2 months later. There is no way I could have done that, right? I probably, it would have been a breach of contract. I mean, it would have been a nightmare. And so really learning to honor, and now I check a lot earlier. I don't wait until I spend 2 months putting things together on is this for my highest good? Is this what I should be doing?
Yeah, that is a good lesson that so many people need to learn. I know I've had to learn it for myself, because when you do things, and sometimes, you might even still get those hits, but you tend to ignore it, and that can really, bite you in the butt. And so when you can start paying attention to that, and as you say, act on it more quickly, and
trust it.
Be able to trust yourself.
Trust. Yeah.
It's an important thing to do. What is a commonly held belief, maybe about business, or maybe even dealing with the media, that you passionately disagree with?
Okay, a belief about business that I passionately disagree with. I really disagree that people need to, especially right now, Gloria, where everything's being reinvented. How we did business, like there's this certain construct that we're taught in school. There's a certain construct with, even parenting, like your kids need to do this. And so we are taught, and it shuts down and it dims that intuition, knowing that God-inspired wisdom. And so I'm passionate about letting people know that we are so unique and so individual, and you know, these formulas, and it doesn't mean we don't honor, like we have a blueprint, we have a formula, but I'm going to tell you all day long that you've got to follow what your intuition says. We'll give you some wisdom, we'll give you some insight, but you might be able to add to it. You might find, you know, it's just designed as a guide. And so same thing with media. Like we do a media magic boot camp, and Gloria, people are like, well, why are you bringing in all these media people? It's competition. And then the media people come in and tell me, well, the way that you write press releases, it doesn't work. And I'm like, look, I've gotten millions of dollars in free publicity. It does work. And so we're really programmed in this is how it is. So those absolutes, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's getting rid of those absolutes and leaving room for curiosity and leaving room for possibility. And again, trusting that knowing, not abdicating our business to other people. When people partner, and I know you do this, Gloria, when people come to you, you're side by side, elbow to elbow, right? It's like you're a partnership with them in moving things forward. And that's what I feel is you know, strongly of letting people know. Yeah. Great question, Gloria. Wow.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I love what you said about that, because it is so important for us to, well, again, it comes back to that trusting, but yeah, people get so caught up into thinking it has to be done this way. Well, because it's been done that way. And it's actually funny. Over the weekend, I was watching the movie Fiddler on the Roof, and, you know, and there's the great song in there, tradition, you know, tradition. But he had, Tevye in the movie, had to learn that some, you know, times change, and he had to start making some changes in his own life, and he wasn't always happy about it, but it, you know, things did get better. And yeah, to be able to recognize that just because it works for one person doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, and to be able to, again, trust your instincts. So that's our main theme today. I think we're getting that out. So I hope you're hearing that today. Wow. What is the question I was going to ask you? And there was something I was going to ask you, and now it has escaped my mind, but it's okay. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. What is what lights you up?
What lights me up? There's so many things that light me up, as you can imagine, Gloria, but what lights me up is when people are inspired. I love I love doing events and bringing people together, whether it's for a birthday party or it's, you know, it's a conference, or even it's a one-on-one. And when there's this, it's like this light bulb that happens, or this possibility that happens, or people get awakened to you know, to possibilities. I'm going to just use this example. I'm a big firewalker. That's kind of what got me into events, was firewalking. And at first I remember I got written on a doctor's pad. I don't know if you know this story, but I went to an MD, and she actually wrote on the doctor's pad that I needed to go to the firewalk. And I'm thinking, this is the craziest thing ever. And I was getting ready to move to Florida. And she said, no, you have to change your trip. You've got to, you know, just postpone it a week. And she goes, you don't have to walk, just watch. And so when I went there, it really, you know, I watched people, and I was just like, oh my gosh, they're not getting burned. I'm going up to them after, let me see the bottom of your feet. And it got me to first off, just go, wow, there's so much that we've been told that we need to question, right? There's a lot that comes in that we have to say. Again, it gets back to that absolute. Is that an absolute truth? But that lit up this, like a God spark in me that just put me on fire of possibilities and questioning and curiosity. And so when we do events, or when we, you know, when somebody's stuck in business, or when there's, you know, they're having a challenge with their kid in parenting and they can't break through, it's like when that possibility opens up and you can just see that heaviness kind of leave them and they light up again. oh my gosh, that, it's like every day I look for, how do I create those moments?
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to create one of those moments today, in myself, but
Right.
also
Yeah.
in others, where that God spark gets brighter.
What a wonderful doctor to prescribe
Oh.
that. That is so cool. I love that. Because yeah, I did actually do a fire walk and it is amazing. Cause I mean, if you had even the thought of it just seems so ridiculous. It's like, are you crazy?
Why?
Of course, you're going to burn your feet. That's ridiculous. And then you do it and you don't. And you're like, wow. I mean, it just totally changes your whole perspective on the power of the mind over body. And it's amazing. So very cool. Did you actually did get to walk on fire or did you just watch
I've
it?
actually been a Firewalk producer. I've done a lot of
Oh,
firewalking events. I've flown in
okay.
Firewalk instructors, and I have a very bizarre. People do get burned, so I don't want it. We call them little fire kisses, and
Okay.
they usually go away very quickly. And they say that it's a kiss on certain parts of your reflexology that you may need in your feet. But I remember one time, Gloria, we walked, and usually I would walk with the fire tender. He's the one that kind of sets it up and gets it all ready. And every time we'd walk, we would grab hands, we'd look at each other and we'd smile and we'd walk. Well, this time I felt like he dragged me across the fire. There was no check-in. It was kind of like it was a burden to walk.
Ooh.
When I got across the other side, next thing you know, and I didn't figure this out until afterwards. I was just like, okay, we're walking. And I was totally fried on the bottom of my feet, the feeling. And as the host, like, there's no way I can go, oh, my feet are burnt, right? I have to keep my cool. And I'm like, okay, thinking cold as ice, but they're still burning. And my friend, who is another Firewalk instructor, came up and she's dancing with me. Come walk with me. And I whispered her in the ear and I go, if I walk again, my feet are going to fall off. This black nubs are so burned. And she goes, no, walk with me. Trust me, walk with me. And I walked with her and it went away, Gloria.
Wow.
I ended up walking 3 more times after that. So I was just like, okay, there's some magic here that I don't understand. And I guess, that's it. It's like being open to magic that we may not comprehend.
What a great story. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I love fire. It's a powerful thing.
Absolutely. Let me think. Oh, one other thing I want to ask you about is, what are you curious about right now?
So right now, what I am curious about is I took on homeschooling and I'm full-time running my business. And so I'm really curious about how, just how I've been doing it for a couple of years. It seems okay, but I'm just curious how I'm going to do that as he gets a little older with what some of what they learn. I remember I've always wanted to homeschool. And I never did it because I just didn't think I could. And this was one of my COVID blessings, was like they forced us to do it. And then I was like, wow, this is really cool. I don't have to get up at 6 a.m. I don't have to stop in the middle of my day. Things that would take him 3 hours to learn, he could learn in 20 minutes. I mean, it was really mind blowing. But I've had some self-worth stuff of, both my parents didn't graduate from high school. I don't have a college education. So I'm dealing with, I'm just curious and open, right? I have to walk all my talk of what I've shared, but how it will look as we're going into this new age of a lot more people homeschooling and will I be able to find the things that I need to give him the nurturing that he needs to learn and grow in what he desires, and still run my business and do what I want to do in the world.
Well, I can tell you, I've actually had guests on the show who do homeschooling, and so I'm blanking on the names. They were a husband and wife couple and I know they've written a book about it, and they've got, I think think 5 kids, I think that they've been homeschooling.
Wow. Okay.
So,
Yes.
and so they've gone through
I'm gonna
the
go
ages
listen
and
to it.
stuff. So it can be done, and you can get support. And then you also have the opportunity to decide, if you decide you don't want to do it, that's okay too. That's the beauty of life, is that we always get to choose what we want.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yes.
but just know that there are resources out there for you. You can don't worry about it. You'll be okay if you decide to do that. We've had a wonderful conversation today. I think we've covered a lot of different stuff, which has been wonderful. I wanted to give you an opportunity to share with our audience, if someone's out there and they want to learn a little bit more about what you do specifically, about, events, or maybe, how to come up with this, power bio, or you had a better name for it, that you were talking about.
Oh, can I give some gifts away?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, if people want to know how to get in touch with you and what you've got for them, yeah, please do share.
Wonderful. So if you go to meetshannon.com, you have access to all the social media, my calendar, you can text, WhatsApp, meetshannon.com, that's all there. And then I have a 13-step expert power bio system that we give away. And so if you go to expertpowerbio.com, you can download the 13 questions to get you started in that process. I also give away my Media Magic book for free. If you go to MediaMagicBook.com, and this is the book that has templates and how to put your press kit together, and even stories. I brought in a couple of other experts. So this is really all the tools that I use to get millions of dollars in free press. And some people, even if you have a budget, like I love when people have a budget, because all this does is just expand your possibilities. And so, I feel it's really important for people to be empowered in their marketing, so they can make those discernments on what's best for me. Or best for you.
Yeah. And I do have a copy of that book, Media Magic.
Yay.
So it is a very good book. You've got some wonderful stuff in there. And in fact, it's making me want to reread it, because I haven't looked at it in quite a while. So I think I need to dig it out again. Probably be very helpful for me, especially because I've been changing and, just adjusting a little bit of my business and getting the word out. I've been endeavoring to launch a group coaching program and haven't quite been able to get in front of the right people. So it might be time for me to take a look at your book again and see how that can help me. So
beautiful. Well, you're amazing. I've watched you over the years, and one of the things that I know about you, Gloria, is that you put your heart and soul into whoever you work with, and so that's that magnet. I know once you get clarity on the messaging and what it is that you're doing, that like right now, so many people are looking for that guide and somebody to be by their side. If you're alone, like if you're listening to this podcast and you're doing business alone, like really look at, it's one of the best investments is having somebody like you, a coach, just to be there and be your cheerleader, give you feedback, support you. Nobody should be alone right now. It's a time to.
I 100% agree with that, because no matter where you are in your business, and I'm sure you probably still have coaches as well.
Many, yes.
Yeah, because we always need to be working with someone to be able to help us to get to that next level. It's so important.
And the thing that I learned, Gloria, is that, I was so focused on business coach, but I have somebody that helps me with parenting. I have somebody that helps me with relationship, and I don't wait until it's broken. Does that make sense? Like I have the most incredible relationship right now. And I said, look, we want to build a foundation. We want to have that outside thing. So I just really feel that the greatest investment is in ourselves, and finding other people that can be on a journey and being discerned, because they're going to share things that may not resonate. And it's okay to say, hey, Gloria, I like that idea. What I like, can we talk about this? And so thank you, Gloria, for having me and letting me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure and a joy. And we'll have to make sure we don't wait quite as long for the next time around. So absolutely. So yeah, thank you for being here. And I'll make sure for those of you listening, I'll have all of Shannon's information will be in the show notes. So if you go to liveloveengagepodcast.com, you'll find all of that as well as our previous episodes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and, tell people about it. And if you want to leave us a review, I'm always open to that as well. That's wonderful.
You have a great Facebook group too.
Yes.
Is that open? Is that your community?
I do. Yeah. Well, I've got a couple groups, but the one that I'm mainly working on right now is called Live, Love, Engage. And it's actually intended for women over 40 and to help them to align to shine. And so working on, your mindset, and so that you can really get out there and shine your light in the world, because that's what we need more of everyone doing. But in particular, I want to, since I'm a woman and I'm over 40, I've got an affinity for
That's your tribe. That's your
my tribe. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would encourage anybody to follow that. I've joined it. As I told you, I'm not always on Facebook. But I love what I've seen is that you're just giving gems, and it's building this beautiful community. And again, this is something that we need in the world, is women coming together and lifting each other up the way that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you again. And thank all of you for watching and listening. And until next time, as always, I encourage you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.